Hey everyone, you may have noticed that we've recently released Playwright Test Agents. Agents to plan, generate, and heal your tests. In this video, I'm going to walk you through it step by step and explain what's happening under the hood so you can be as successful as possible in getting those agents, planning, generating, and healing those tests. Let's dive in. Make sure you update your VS Code to the latest version. You should see a little icon here with number 1, and all you do is press restart to update. You need to make sure you're on version 1.105 of VS Code in order for it to work. So update VS Code. So go to the documentation and click on the Get Started button, and under Playwright Test, you'll see a button called Agents. So we click on this, it's a new page, and this is only available in Node.js for the moment. So this introduces our 3 agents: planner, generator, and healer. And there's a video here I encourage you to watch. And how to get started. So we have VS Code, Claude Code, and OpenCode. That's what we support for the moment. So I'm going to use VS Code, and I can copy that here, and that's how I'm going to initialize those agents. So let's go over to VS Code and take a look. Now, very important is to update Playwright to the latest version. So we need to be on 1.56 of Playwright. So I've already ran the command to update Playwright. So make sure you do that first. Now I'll go ahead and just clear this terminal so that we can see what's going on. And we're going to initialize our agents. So I'll go ahead and paste this command in here: npx playwright init -agents --loop equals VS Code. Now, once I run this, this is what we get. Some files have been generated for us. So let's take a look at them. First of all, in the GitHub folder under chat modes, we have generator, we have healer, and planner. They are our agents. Let's dive into them. So here we go. In the GitHub folder, we've got chat modes, planner. So what this is basically you use this agent when you need to create comprehensive test plans for a web application or website. And these are the tools that it's going to use in order to be able to do its job. And this is the job description that this planner, this agent, has been given. Then we have our generator, and these are the tools that it is using in order to generate Playwright tests and the instructions that it's been given in how to generate those tests. And then the healer, use this agent when you need to debug and fix failing Playwright tests and the tools that it can use to do that and the instructions it needs to do to get its job done. The next thing that was generated is a .vs code folder and an mcp.json file. So under here, we've got an mcp.json file, and this is basically using a Playwright Test MCP Server. So this is different to the Playwright Test, Playwright MCP Server, the first one that we introduced. This is a different one called Playwright Test, specifically for testing. Now, you don't need to go ahead and install it or set it up or run it or do anything, because this is going to do it all for you. So basically, I'm just showing you that it's here, but we don't even need to worry about it. So these, we can just close them because we don't need to worry about it. What we do need to look at is this file here, which was generated, the seed.spec file. Now, this was generated inside my test folder, inside the logged in folder. So this is my test folder. Here's my logged in folder for all tests that are in a logged in state. And this is the seed file that was generated. Now, it was generated in this folder and not inside the logged out folder because that's the first project that I have in my Playwright config. So the seed file is something that you use in order to seed a test. So something that needs to happen before the test takes place. Now, you might not need this. And if you don't have anything to seed, if you just have a simple test, then you can just totally leave this blank. Or you might want to put in await page.goto, for example, into a logged in state or into the profile page, and all your tests will start from this particular URL. So everything that is used in this seed file will be copied by the LLM into each test that is generated. So basically, if you want to seed a test, get it into a specific state before the LLM does its job, this is what you want to use here. You might not need this, and if you do, then add this in here. So let me show you with a more complex example. I'm going to just quickly walk you through my application before I set up my seed and start using the agents. So this is my test folder. I've got some helpers in here. I've got a list test page, which is basically a fixture, custom fixture that basically creates a page and navigates to it. It creates lists and adds movies to them and adds images to the first movie in each list. And then it opens the list page so that then we can continue testing from that specific point. And I've got some list utilities, which are just some functions that open lists, add movies, etc. And then I've got my setup page, which basically just uses storage state and logs into my application using process.env to fill in the login and password. And it basically just logs into the application for me. And then I use project dependencies in my Playwright config file to run the setup test. And basically then anything in the logged in Chrome uses the dependency of setup and uses that storage state. Okay, so that's how my tests are set up. I've got some logged out tests already created here. We're not going to worry about them because what I want to do is create the logged in tests using our Playwright agents. So what I'm going to do is I've already got a seed file that I've used, and I'm going to paste this in here because that's where I want my page to start. Now, let me just quickly show you the application over here. I've got it running on localhost, and I'm going to click on that login state. I'm going to fill in my email. I'm going to put in my password. I'm going to log in. We don't need to save that. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new list. And I'll call it my list, and I call it my 5 movies. So this is my application, and basically what I'm showing you is where the agent is going to start the tests from. So these are, and they can go ahead and choose an image, select. So these are the list that it's going to start from, and the LLM should now be able to just start from there and start generating those tests. So let's take a look and see if it can do that. We'll close this here. So as I said, this is the seed file using that page as my seed. And now I can go ahead and open the chat and choose my agent. So instead of agent, I'm going to use planner. The Playwright planner is the agent that I want to use. And you can see I have the seed file already added in here into the context. Otherwise, you could drag and drop and put it into here, because we want the LLM to have access to this seed file. So what we want to do now is basically ask it to generate a test plan for the movies list feature. And let's just be explicit and ask it to save it as movies test plan in the specs folder. Now I don't have a specs folder, but it should go ahead and create one for me. So let's go ahead and run that. And let's see what it does. So it's going to help me generate a comprehensive test plan for the movies list feature. It's going to start by setting up the page and exploring the application. So the first tool that it wants to run is the setup planner page from the Playwright Test MCP Server. And this one needs the seed file, which is basically, yes, that's the seed file that we wanted to give it. So we can go ahead and allow. Now we can allow in this session, in this workspace, always allow. There's a setting in VS Code where you can allow absolutely everything, which you totally shouldn't do, but it's great for demos. But for this one, let's just click on allow. So now it's setting up the planner page, and it's going to go ahead, and you can see it's just logged in, right? It's created that list, okay? Here we go. The list has just been created, the 3 movies have been added, and the 3 images have just been selected. So I'm now at this stage of this is where I want my agent to start testing. So the setup and all that is just being done. So that's pretty amazing. So it can see the movies list page is loaded. It's going to explore the application. It's going to start doing stuff. Let's have a look in this here. Now, if we look in the setup planner page, the output, 2 tests were run using 1 worker. So the setup tests ran and the log user in and verify profile access was ran. And you can see the page state, and this is the actual page snapshot. And as you can see, there is no login in here in the page snapshot because I'm using the setup tests. So the LLM hasn't and doesn't have access to my login information here. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so it's gone ahead and clicked and typed. It's run a page snapshot. It's run wait for, and it's asking, can I allow that? So yes, we want it to wait for the search results. We'll go ahead and do that. And let's just open the application, see where we are. There we go. And it's clicking. It's using the share one, share my favorite movies. So it's decided to check that out. Okay. And I've auto approved some of this for this profile. So that's why we're not seeing the allow on all of these tool calls. It's going to click outside the dialog first to close it. There's no X button there. We should totally fix that in the application. We can do that later. And then it's evaluating JavaScript. So it's using the evaluate JavaScript Playwright test in order to be able to find a way to close that dialog. And there you go. So it navigated to a URL. And it's now going ahead. It's gone to the movies details page. And now it wants me to run wait for. Let's go ahead and allow that. And we can check what's going on in here. So it's run playwright code. And it's just waiting for something to load. It found a couple of errors there. And then it found the page snapshot. And it's able to read through that. Now it's exploring the menu. And it now has a comprehensive understanding of the movies list feature. So it's now going to check if there's a specs folder. And if not, it's going to create one. That's great. So it just created the specs folder for me. So there we go here. And now it should start generating the test plan inside that specs folder. And there we have it. It's created movies test plan. So let's take a look at what it's done. So there's a summary here. It's generated the plan, 13 major categories. And let's just go ahead and press keep. And let's open our movies test plans, close our chat. And let's take a look at what it's done. So you can see a little bit of what it's decided to test. And the scenarios, the seed. So it's using the tests logged in seed.spec.ts files. That's perfect. So the first thing is viewing the existing list, the expected results, view movie posters and ratings, navigate to movie details from list management actions, expected results. So there's quite a few tests in here that you can go along and you could refine, you could add to, you could delete. This is quite complex, so it's pretty cool. And let's go ahead and generate some. So add and remove movies from a list. This looks like a pretty good section to do. And we've got a few: navigate to add, remove movies, view current movies and list, search for movies, search for specific movie, add movie to a list, remove movie from a list, add duplicate movie handling, search with no results. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and just ask it to generate this particular section. But first of all, what we really should do is go ahead and commit our changes so that we don't lose our test plan at any stage. Let's just use AI to generate that commit message for us. And there we go. We've committed those. So that's good. And let's go ahead and open our chat. Okay, always start with a new chat. So you got a clean slate, a clean context for your agent to start working with. So now we've got planner. We're going to go ahead and use generator. And you can see I've got the movies test plan already in context. So I'm just going to unselect here. So it's got the full movies test plan. And I'm going to basically say that I want it to generate a test for each point in the section for add, remove movies from the list, and save. Generate a test for each point in the section 4 and save. And well, we don't need to tell it where to save it. I think that's enough. Generate a test for each point in the section 4, add, remove movies from list, from the test plan. It already has the test plan in context, so it should just get that. But the more context you give it, the better. So this should create a test generate a test for each, let's just put a test file for each point in the section for add, remove, lose from list from the test plan. We're using our generator, and we can go ahead and press play and see what it does. So it's going to generate a test files for each scenario in section 4. Scenario would have been a better word. And the first thing it's going to do is run setup generator page. So you can see the setup for the page that it's asking to use. There's the plan. Let's just click on see more. So we can see, and you can see it's got 4.1 in there. And if we kind of go along here, you can see it's asking to use the seed file, which is the seed spec.ts. So let's go ahead and allow that. And you can see it started to log in. So this is great. And we've got to our stage of our movie list where the 3 movies are on the page. So now it should be able to go and execute the test steps. So you can see it's run click. And it's run verify element list. Let me quickly click on one of these so you can see what's going on here. So this is a new tool which is run verify element visible. And what this does is it's got the role of text box, accessible name, add item, intent, verify, add item or search box is displayed with placeholder. And the output result is done, and it ran the playwright code of await, expect, page, get by role text, name, add item to be visible. So this is a really cool tool to verify the element is visible on the page. And then it's gone and retrieving a test log. So it wants to retrieve the performed test log. So let's go ahead and allow it to this. So it has a full log of what it has done before it actually goes ahead and writes the test. Okay, now it's going to run write test because we want it to write the test in the actual folder. So let's go ahead and allow it to write the test. And now it's going to go ahead and do the second scenario. And it's going to set up the page for this second scenario, which is 4.2, view current movies in list. So let's go ahead and allow that. And again, it's going to go through that section again and quickly start performing the actions it needs to perform in order to test that specific scenario. It's running click. In this one, it's view current movies in the list, and it's verifying the list is visible on the page. So this is another tool, verify list visible. Let's go in and select OK for that. And then it's retrieving the test log. So let's allow the test log. And let's have a look. Here, run write test. So let's go ahead and allow it to write the test. And we can just quickly look at the test log. So the test log is basically a plan, add, remove movies from the list, view the current movies in list, the steps it needs to perform, the expected results. And this is the test log and the actual TS file in here. And it's using the seed, setting up the fixture, and then the steps it needs to do to perform and verify all the movies currently in the list. So this is how it ensures it does a really good job. Now it's on 4.3, search for movies. And again, let's go ahead this time and allow in this session so they can go a little bit faster and run through each of these without me having to allow on each one. So it's going to do the 4.3, then it's going to do 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7. Now I've gone ahead and just sped up this part of the video just so you don't have to watch it go through each of those test steps for the generation phase. And there it is. Great. I've successfully generated test files for all the scenarios in section 4. So it's going to create a summary, and it's telling me it's generated all those test files. So let's actually go and take a look and see if they're there. So in my logged in file, there we go. It looks like we have them here. Add movie to list, navigate to add, remove movie, search for specific, search movies, view current movies. This looks good. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. So the first one, we can go ahead and look at our test, and as you can see here, the seed was used, the spec file was used, the seed was used, but you can see I'm importing list test as test from my helpers. So that's what I wanted the seed to be copied in. And you can see that the first thing I have is that the const page equals list page. That was passed in from my seed. So my fixture is being passed in, and then it goes ahead and continues the test to the state that it needs to be in. So this is really, really cool. That's doing exactly what I wanted to do, and every file will have that starting from that specific point because that's what I had in my seed file. Again, you might not have anything in your seed file, or you might have a page go to in there. So that's cool. And again, you can go through this and you can decide, is this a good test? Do I need to modify it? Do I need to do anything? At first glance, it looks really good. So I'm just really eager to go ahead and run them and see if they actually work. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's open up where I'm using the VS Code extension here for Playwright, and I'm going to go ahead and run the test. But first of all, I just want to make sure that I have setup checked, because if I don't have setup checked, it's not going to be able to log in. Remember, I need to log in first. So I need to run that setup test just the first time it runs it. So let's go ahead and press play for all the tests in the login folder. You can see the setup test is running first. It's logging me in, and then it's able to go ahead and run each of those tests. Okay, this is looking really good. Now I have show browser checked. That's why we're able to see what's going on. And it looks like we have one test that has failed, maybe two. Two tests failed, 3 tests have passed. And it looks pretty good. Okay, that's cool. Let's take a look. Let's just close that browser. And we have 2 tests have failed. Okay, that's not too bad. I can uncheck setup because when I run these again, it's going to use storage state and I don't need it to run that setup test again. So let's just uncheck that. And let's now go ahead and take a look at the actual tests that are failing. Now, this is basically an expect locator to be visible has failed. Again, we could use we could read through these messages here. We can fix with AI. We could debug it ourselves. But you know what? I'm actually going to get the healer to go and fix these for me. But first of all, and I think this is really, really important, I'm going to go ahead and commit my changes. So I'll go ahead and I'll add these into Git. These are just all my test files. That looks good. And let's commit those first, just in case there's something that we don't want the healer to do, but let's just make sure that everything is committed first. Now, let's go ahead and open my chat, and let's create a new chat, and let's choose the healer. And what we can do is we can actually see what 2 files. This one, navigate to add remove movies. That was the one that failed. And what was the other one that failed? The search for specific movies. So let's go ahead and find that search for specific movies. So these 2 were the ones that failed. So we can go ahead and say run and fix tests. And let's see if it does. Oh, it only just took, yeah, no, it did took the 2 into context. That's great. Search for specific movies and navigate to add movies. Now it's going to start by running all tests to identify which ones are failing. That's fair enough. So it's running the run test from the Playwright Test MCP Server. It's using the project's Chromium. And let's go ahead and see how it does. So all tests passed successfully because it ran the test in the project one, but I wanted it to run it in the logged in one. So if we look in here, we wanted it, this one, the test logged in. All my logged out tests passed. So I want this one to run. So it's going to read these ones. It's running the list test, and it can see now it has a list of tests to run. So which ones it's going to run: add remove movies from the logged in folder, add remove movies from list. And there it started to run that test. Let's quickly go back and see where has it got to. It's running the test in debug. It's debugging a single test here. So this is a really cool tool that it uses. It uses to debug a single test. Let's open that up. And you can see that it run 2 tests using 1 worker. It's run the login.setup. log user in and verify the profile access, and then it paused on the error. So it's able to pause on the actual error, which is the get by placeholder, search for movie, expected visible. There's a strict mode violation, get by placeholder. This is what the LLM is seeing. So this is how it's able to actually really do a good job. So this is really cool. Let's go back to where we are. It ran the page snapshot, and then it was able to basically say, it can see the issue clearly. There are 2 issues in the navigate to add, remove movies. The heading needs an exact true, and the placeholder search for movie appears in 2 inputs, one in the header and one in the add item text box. So looking at the page snapshot, it noticed the heading list my favorite movies. Okay, and then it's going to go ahead and fix the test, and then it's going to run the test again to verify the text that the fix actually works. So it's running debug single test again. The first test is now passing, and then it's gone ahead and run the second failing test. So you can see it's run this test, search for specific movie, and it's gone ahead and seen that it's failed on the expect locator to be visible. The menu item name incoming it's failing on that one. And it can go ahead and read through the menu item, the page state, the page title, etc. So the issue is that the test typed inception and it's waiting for the search results, but looking at the snapshot, there's a list structure with a list item and no visible menu items. So it ran evaluate JavaScript. And then look at this, it ran to list the network requests. So it's asking me permission, can the Playwright Test MCP Server run this tool to run a list of network requests? Let's go ahead and allow that. Let's take a look at what it's doing. Now it's actually going to the database to get, using all the HTTP requests, and it's reading through all of those to see if it can find that movie from the API calls. That's really, really cool. So good. It can see there was a successful API call to the search movie with the query, and it came back as okay. The search completed, but the drop-down structure is different. Now, there's a reason here in this application, and that's because I get all my movies from the database, but then I kind of have a little filter that just filters some of the movies out. And, you know, that's not going to be visible on the site. Nobody's going to know that exists. That's why we've got movies with a mock Azure websites site. So it was able to see the page snapshot, and it could see there's a list with a list item, and it's reading through this, and basically it seems empty or not fully rendered. It's going to look at a working test to understand how it works. So this test passed. So it's seen that one test passed, so the drop down works. And the problem is, it's after typing inception. The problem is that we don't have that movie in the actual website. It is in the API call, but not in the website because of the filtering we use. So it's running through to see if it can find the reason why it's finding, why it's not able to see that movie. And now it's going to run the console messages. So this is cool as well, which is another tool that it can run, is the checking for the console for any errors. So run get console. Let's go ahead and allow that one. And then there's no relevant errors in the console. So it's going to look at the test expectations more carefully, and fix the test to make it work properly with the autocomplete system. The test should click on the input, which triggers the initial dropdown, type the search term, and wait for the specific response to that search term. Okay, so it's going to run the debug again. We're going to open this up. We're going to put in the search term, and you can see it types in inception, and inception is not, it's not seen in the drop down. So this is really cool, because given that this appears to be an inherent application bug where the autocomplete doesn't work with programmatic text entry, it's going to mark this test as a fix me. So when it comes to a stage where it's like, this should work, the dropdown works, but this, in this case, it basically decided that it has high confidence the test is correct, but the application behavior is broken. So it's going to go ahead and update the test, and it's going to add a fix me in there, and then it's going to run all those tests again, and the test is now being skipped as intended, shown by the status, and it's going to run all the tests to make sure the rest pass. And all tests have passed. successfully. One of them test fixed 2 and the issue. So it goes through the issues here and the fix that it added. And then this one, the issue, and it marked the text as fix me with a detailed comment explaining the application behavior issue. And the autocomplete only works with the manual interaction and not with programmatic input via fill or press sequentially. So there you go. There we can go ahead and let's just keep that, because what we can do is, because we have used Git, we can basically look at the Git diff and see exactly what it has done and make sure that is correct. So here we've got, exact true has been added. So that looks good. And here it's added a placeholder for search for movie to be visible. It removed that because it didn't need it, because it was already, the text box was there, so that's fine. Now this is, it's removing the first line of the test and it's saying this test is marked as fix me due to an application bug, where the autocomplete dropdown does not properly populate when the text is entered, the API call succeeds, and the test was marked as fix me. Now you can decide if this is actually correct, or if basically this is something that we can just, modify, because I know if I write Deadpool in there, this actual test will pass instead of using this movie because of the filtering that I have. But then again, maybe that is an application bug. So it's kind of really cool that it actually added that in there. And then we can go ahead and review that and modify either the test or the application. And that is it. We can then go ahead and we can commit those changes, and we can go ahead and just run our tests here and just double make sure that they actually pass here in VS Code. And that's it. That is Playwright Agents. So make sure you start using them today to write test plans, to generate your tests based off those plans, and heal any of those tests that are broken. Happy testing with Playwright Agents, everyone.